Have you ever purchased cacti from the store, brought it home, and then a few months or even mere weeks later, it dies or appears to rot from the inside out? Well, most likely, the cause of that is soil. The wrong soil can kill desert plants very quickly. My name's Adrian with Sonora and Flora, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a killer cactus mix. So why does the right soil matter when it comes to desert plants? Well, in their natural environment, cacti and succulents are often in soils that drain rapidly after receiving large amounts of moisture, large amounts of water from heavy rainfall. After they soak up all the water they can from those large moments of rainfall, much of the water disappears from their root zone. And so what they're used to is soil that is porous, allowing oxygen to enter and remain around the roots for long periods of time in very dry conditions. Store-bought soil retains way too much moisture, and we want to do away with that condition so that your desert plants have the best chance at surviving. We want to mimic as much as possible what the natural conditions are for these plants. Now, a quick disclaimer, the soil that I'm about to show you how to make is a soil that works well for container desert plants. If you're going to be planting your cacti or succulents into the ground, you do not want to use this soil to amend with. More than likely, if you live in a desert environment, the soil that is in the ground already is going to be just fine for what you're planting. Although there are some conditions where that's not true, such as too much sand or too much organic material in the soil condition. Okay, let's get right down to the good stuff. I'm going to show you first a couple of soils that work fairly well if you don't want to make your own soil. So one soil, the soil that I use the most often when I don't want to make my own soil, is this cactus, palm, and citrus mix. Now, I don't have any affiliation to this brand. They're not paying me, they're not sponsoring me. This is just the mix that I use when I don't want to make my own soil. It's a really good mix. This is the Garden Organics Kellogg Palm, Cactus, and Citrus Mix. And on the back here, on the ingredients list, we have recycled forest products, sand, pumice, bark fines, dehydrated poultry manure, and hydrolyzed feather meal. So you'll notice here that we have some material that creates porous conditions. That's going to be the sand to add grit to the soil, and the pumice, which is going to add aeration to the soil so everything doesn't get condensed down into one big clump. It's going to allow for spots between the soil particles for water to continue to flow. There's also the recycled forest products, and that's going to be some of the organic material. There's some feather meal and there's some poultry manure and some bark fines as well. And those just add more organic material, and the bark fines also help to keep the soil porous as well. So this soil, it's my ideal soil when I don't make my own soil. Another soil that I came across today is True Grit. There are a lot of very similar ingredients in here, but I just wanted to use this soil to point out one thing. This soil uses perlite instead of pumice. Now, a lot of you who come across perlite and pumice might be looking at the two and think, those look the same to me, why are they different? Well, perlite is baked pumice. And what happens when you bake pumice and then add it into soil is something called perlite float. Now, you might have seen in some of your pots that the perlite gathers at the top of the pot. This isn't the best for cactus and succulent mix. And that's because the pumice is in the mix to help create porosity so that water can continue to flow. If the perlite is floating up to the top of the container, you're going to have issues maintaining that porosity over time. Now, the reason I bring this soil into the video at all is because many people still use perlite and are successful cactus growers. So don't think that my way is the only way. Feel free to experiment, try a few things on your own, and see what works for you. And hey, if perlite works for you, and you think pumice is not the answer, leave me a comment and tell me why. Tell me about the experiences that you have with perlite versus pumice. I'd love to hear about it. Now, we're gonna move on to the good stuff. Let's say you don't want to buy a store-bought mix. You wanna get your hands dirty because you've been growing for a couple of years and you think, you know what? I'm done with those store-bought mixes. I'm a real cactus grower now. You wanna make your own mix. Okay, let's teach you how to do that. Let's set a strong foundation for you to play with and experiment on top of later on in the future. I have here in front of me 5 ingredients which are going to make you a success with cactus mix. The first ingredient is 3 parts pumice. The second ingredient is 2 parts lava rock. The third ingredient is 1.5 parts cocoa coir. The fourth ingredient is compost, 1 part. The fifth ingredient and final ingredient is 1/2 part of worm castings. Now, this mix is ideal because it creates a very porous soil that gives the cactus in the container similar conditions to what it would have if it was out in the wild. Now, this is not the composition that the soil would have if it was in the wild, but it gives the soil conditions in regard to porosity and drainage and oxygenation of the roots. Okay, so today I'm starting with a brand new container, and all I'm gonna do is pour these ingredients in and mix them until they are well and evenly mixed. And then I'll show you what the soil looks like. So here we have our mixed soil. Now, if you're looking at this soil and you're thinking, wow, that looks extremely rocky, you're right, it is extremely rocky. That's what's going to create the porosity in the soil that allows for this cactus mix to be well draining and provide lots of oxygen to the roots. You don't want your soil to stay wet over time. What you want is for the water to enter, soak the soil, and drain out after the roots have absorbed the moisture that they need. Now, one more tip. This is a good foundation. However, it's not ideal for every situation. If you have plants, such as an opuntia, a prickly pear type cactus, that has roots which are extremely sensitive to rot, you're gonna wanna go heavier on the gravel or non-organic material side. If you have a plant that needs a little bit more moisture to survive, you're going to want to go heavier on the organic side of things. So think more compost, a little bit more worm castings, and a little bit less of the perlite and the lava rock. So make sure that you read up on your plant and see exactly what kind of soil conditions it needs, how much water it needs to survive, what its transpiration process is like, and just the overall character of the plant so that you can modify this foundational soil to fit your needs well. Okay, everybody, so that's the end of the soil making process for today. Go ahead and buy yourself a cactus, hit your local garden center, get yourself a cactus, put it in a pot, use that soil, and let me know down in the comments in a few months how it worked for you. And if you need to know how to get your cactus out of the soil that it came in so you can get it into some good soil, I'm gonna link a video right above where I showed what's wrong with store-bought soil and how you can remove your cactus from the store-bought soil in order to get it into some new soil. And don't forget, in that video, I tell you, let it dry, let the roots dry before you go and plant. Okay, everybody, from Sonora and Flora, this is Adrian, and I'll see you on the next one.